Hi there, smart drivers. Talking to you today about tips, strategies, and techniques you can put in place to keep yourself safe on long holiday trips with Easter coming. And that's no joke. Yes, it's April Fool's Day. All right, talking about highway driving and road trips, tips, strategies, and techniques to keep yourself safe. First and foremost, always have your 3 to 4 second following distance, especially out on the highway. And if you are driving on the highways and the interstates, drive in the spaces between the clusters, because for whatever reason, people on the highways, people on the interstates like to drive in clusters. And if you can avoid driving in those clusters, you are going to be significantly safer out on the roadways. Stopping in traffic, stop back 1 vehicle length from the vehicle in front of you so you have an escape in case something happens. And don't be sitting there munching away on a big submarine sandwich and getting rear-ended. Calm awareness. When you stop 1 vehicle length back in traffic, your landmark for that is being able to see the tires of the vehicle in front making clear contact with the roadway. Watching your center mirror, watching traffic come up behind you. And if you see somebody come tearing up too fast, and I saw this yesterday, come up to make the left-hand turn to go into the dojo for jiu-jitsu, and I was looking at the car behind me and I'm like, that car is not slowing down. The car is not slowing down. And I just kind of tapped the brake lights and all of a sudden they're like, oh, okay. And they slowed down, right? So if you see a vehicle that's not slowing down, get your foot off the brake and tap it again just to flash your brake lights. That will potentially prevent you from getting rear-ended. And as well, if they're not stopping, you don't see the vehicle slowing down or hesitating at all, then just abort the turn and drive straight to get out of their way and prevent getting rear-ended, because you don't want to get rear-ended. Shoulder checking, shoulder checking, shoulder checking, and then mapping intersections, tracking road users. We're going to talk about and give you some other tips for driving. Good stuff to have a look at. Driving tips for keeping yourself safe on the interstate and freeways, and as well car care maintenance. We're going to go over a little bit of this here, but one of the things you definitely want to do if you're going on a road trip, if you don't have tire pressure monitoring systems on your vehicle, definitely check the tire pressure. Windshield wipers, make sure those are good. Your windshield washer fluid is topped up. Check all the fluid levels under the hood. Your master cylinder, which is your brakes, make sure that's filled up. Your power steering, your radiator, make sure all that's good. If you hadn't had a tune-up done in a while, you haven't had your fuel filter changed or your air breather cleaned out, make sure you get those things changed. One of the things I like to do before a trip is I like to change the cabin filter in the vehicle just to keep the cabin all nice, because sometimes, especially in the wintertime or this time of year where you need to defrost the glass, if that cabin filter is plugged up, it's going to reduce the effectiveness or the efficiency of your defrost. So, and if you don't know how to do all that stuff, take it into a mechanic or a technician, automotive technician, and get him or her to go over that stuff for you, make sure your car is tip top while you're driving on long road trips. So I kind of got ahead of myself here in terms of car care and vehicle preparation. Engine oil, make sure that the engine oil is topped up. Windshield wipers are in good nick. Okay, Trico windshield wipers. I really like Trico windshield wipers. I think I got almost 4.5 years out of the last set that I had on the vehicle and just recently replaced them. So definitely use those as well. Make sure you have food, snacks handy, clothing, take off heavy clothing and those types of things when you're driving, but definitely make sure that your vehicle is tip top, ready to go when you're going on a driving tip. Navigation, most of us now have newer vehicles with GPS. We have our phones. If you haven't bought a holder for your phone yet in the vehicle, do get one. They're just awesome in terms of navigation. One of the things with Carrie, when I was down visiting in the summertime in Minnesota, one of the suggestions that I made to her was when you're driving and you're using your navigation, turn the audio on. That way it will reduce the amount of times that you actually have to look at the screen to figure out where you're turning and those types of things, because the audio will definitely help you out and you can keep your eyes on the road and be less distracted when you're getting to a different place. Before you head out, look at all this stuff on Google Maps, okay? Plan out where your breaks are going to be, especially if you're traveling with small children. Make sure you have a break every couple of hours. You're able to stop at a park, someplace where you can have snacks or a picnic or those types of things. And if you get lost while you're navigating along your route, stop and figure out where you're going, okay? Yesterday I was going to someplace I hadn't been before, and I get there and I'm like, I'm not at the right place. And the reason I knew I wasn't at the right place was that I had looked it up on Google Maps before I left, and I looked and I could see what the building looked like that I was looking for when I got there. So when the GPS took me there, I was like, oh, this isn't the right place. And I'm like looking around going, oh, this isn't the right place. And then I stopped, I re-entered it into my GPS, and then I got to where I was going, right? But I knew that because I had looked at Google Maps before I took off. Activities for the kids, okay? Have blankets so they can sleep, pillows, those types of things. Access to games and other items in the vehicle so you're not reaching around and another person, if you're traveling with a partner, then they can hand those things to the kids and whatnot. And one of the activities that I had for my kids when they were younger was we went to the library, we got audiobooks, so they actually had a physical copy of the book, and then the story would be read over the CD in the car, and that would keep them entertained for a period of time, right? And then you have other games you can do, I Spy My Little Eye and those types of things. So keep the kids entertained while you're driving. Make sure that they're strapped in, they're safe while you're driving, water bottles and food and those types of things. Preparation, food, drink, and pets in the vehicle. Where are the pets going to be? Again, this is another thing that you need to do when you're getting ready, planning on Google Maps. Where are we going to stop? We're going to be able to take the dog for a walk and those types of things. I mean, most people are just traveling with a dog. Some people might travel with their cat or their fish or those types of things. That's a little more complicated, but most of the time it's going to be a dog. Okay, assign roles. The person that's driving is driving the vehicle. The person in the passenger seat, they're helping navigate and those types of things, telling you where to turn left, telling you if there's alternative routes and whatnot. One time we were going to Vancouver Island. We got into Vancouver, we got into congestion, and it was probably the worst backup that I had ever been in. It was a couple of hours. Finally, I said, we got to go somewhere else. And we turned around in the middle of the interstate or the freeway, and we went the other way. It was just crazy. Like, it was like an hour and a half, and I was just like, okay, I'm done. We have to find another route here. So the passenger was responsible for the navigation, getting us around and getting us rerouted. Blankets and pillows, prescription medication. If you are on prescription medication, know the effects of prescription medication, and as well, make sure that you have enough to last for however long that you're going to be away on your holiday and your road trip. My daughter, for example, she's going to her grandma's in the summertime for 6 weeks. She needs to have enough medication for the 6 weeks that she's gone. Cruise control out on the highways. Use cruise control. As you know, those of you who've been here before, those of you watching on the replay and been around on Smart Drive Test, I am a huge advocate of cruise control out on the highway, especially with newer vehicles. You have adaptive cruise control, lane assist. These are really great in helping you drive safely, not get a speeding ticket, because you can set the cruise control at the speed limit and you know that you're not speeding, right? And as well, it's going to reduce distractions because now you're not trying to monitor what your speed limit is all the time. My mom's new van that we bought her last year, her Pontiac Montana, that thing's got a huge V6 in it and, 150, 160 kilometers an hour, which is 90, 100 miles an hour. That thing just whatever. Because I drove it across Montana, 700 miles across Montana at 140 kilometers an hour, 85 miles an hour. That thing didn't miss a beat. So in order to not get a speeding ticket in my mom's van, you have to have it on cruise control. Otherwise, you look down and you're like, oh my God, I'm doing 80 miles an hour. So I am a huge advocate. And as I said, it reduces fatigue because you're not monitoring your speed when you're driving. Night driving. This statement epitomizes everything about night driving. Drowsy drivers rest in pieces. Okay? If you're tired, get some sleep. That is the only thing that is going to cure being tired at night. And in the 1990s, when I was driving truck and I was driving long haul, I was driving a lot of nights. And I knew that if I started chewing my fingernails, I know this is weird, but I started chewing my fingernails, I needed to be off the road within 10 minutes. If I wasn't off the road with 10 minutes, I was sound asleep. Sound asleep. So that was my sign. I knew chewing my fingernails was meant that I was too tired to be driving. Pull into a rest area, pull into someplace safe, lock the doors, just lay back, get a bit of sleep. Now, I've had smart drivers over the years say to me, oh, that police are going to harass you and whatnot. Police are not going to harass you if you're just getting a few minutes sleep, say in the middle of the night at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, you're in the rest area and you're just laying down and getting 20 minutes or half an hour of sleep. They're not going to harass you, okay? They got better things to do, more important things to do, so they're not going to harass you, all right? Brakes. Plan a break every couple of hours when you're taking long road trips. Plan your breaks. Where are you going to be taking your breaks? Are you at a park, a picnic, or those types of things? Okay. Restaurants, heavy meals. Know that if you go in and have, a big large fries and a Big Mac, I can't say it's a Big Mac anymore because it's just a double patty hamburger. It's a little itty bitty thing. It's probably not really going to make you sleepy and tired, but you have a couple of big ham sandwiches that you made at home with cheese and mayonnaise and lettuce and, big thick honking slabs of yummy, rye bread, then, that probably is going to weigh on you and make you tired. So try to avoid large meals. Try more like grazing over the course of your trip and keeping yourself safe and keeping yourself alert. Keep yourself hydrated, lots of water. Soda in the car, chew on beef jerky. Yes, exactly what Eric is saying here. Keep the windows down. But know your limitations in terms of fatigue and whatnot as well, okay? Okay, comfort in clothing. Take off bulky clothes, okay? Just be wearing a t-shirt and jeans when you're sitting in the car. Be comfortable, okay? Don't be wearing a big jacket and, a big hat and toque and those types of things and being uncomfortable when you're in the car. It's got heat. It's got air conditioning, okay? You can sit in there and be comfortable. Emergency clothes in the vehicle, in case you spill soda in your lap. Back supports, if you got a bad back or you need back support in the car, make sure that you have that. Accessibility to CDs, medications, sunglasses, water, all those types of things. All vehicles in this day and age have cup holders, not like when I was a kid and they didn't have cup holders, right? They all have cup holders now, so you can have water and accessory to that as well. And another rule that I implement when I'm on long road trips is when you get out of the car, take the garbage out of the car with you, right? Coffee cups, water bottles, those types of things. All the coffee shops have places where you can get rid of your recycling and get rid of your garbage and those types of things. Don't have it sitting around and hanging around in the car. Just take it out when you get out. That's the rule I have when I'm traveling. Emergency stops and breakdowns. Unless it is an absolute emergency, and I mean absolutely an emergency, do not stop on the side of the road, okay? On the side of a highway, the side of an interstate. You are a sitting duck. And that is an actual term within truck driving, that if you're on the side of the interstate, side of the freeway, you are a sitting duck and you're at high risk of being involved in a crash, of getting hit by traffic on the roadway. If you can limp the vehicle somewhere else to an off-ramp or someplace, a rest area or whatnot, that is going to be much, much safer than being there on the side of the highway. If you have a flat tire, don't change the flat tire on the side of the highway or the side of the interstate. Limp it up, okay? You can replace the tire. You can't replace your life. And I can't put it any more plainly than that. And, this happens far more than you would like to think, unfortunately, all right? Have a cell phone, have a charger in your vehicle. Make sure that you do that, because if you don't have a charger and your phone's not charged, it's pretty tough to call for help. If you're not any good at changing tires, doing small repairs, those types of things, get a AAA membership, an Automobile of America, the Association of Automobile for America. AAA, it means something, and those three words are in those AAAs there. The CAA, the Canadian Automobile Association, the American Automobile Association. There we go. I got it right, finally. It's only about $100 a year for roadside assistance, towing, come out and boost your car, get fuel, those types of things. And on that note of fuel, don't let your fuel tank run less than a quarter of a tank. Have a survival kit in the vehicle. Have a first aid kit, okay? Have hard medications, candies, especially if you're driving in the wintertime. Blankets, prescription medications, phone charger, those types of things. Good luck on your driver's test, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. And it is certainly nice that the nice weather is coming. And despite what everybody might think, with winter, snow, and ice, we've talked about this on the last few live streams in terms of winter time. It's actually the states in the US that get winter that have the lowest crash rate, whereas states that don't have winter, Mississippi, South Carolina, New Mexico, those are the states that have the highest number of crashes. And within a couple of months here, June, July, August, are the highest number of traffic fatalities for young people, new drivers. So know that that's happening. That summertime is coming. as well. With summertime, there's more road users sharing the roadways, cyclists, motorcycle riders, pickup trucks pulling caravans, those types of things. So know that all of that is going to happen as well with the coming of summer, and that you need to be more vigilant in doing the 4 things of the smarter defensive driving system. Space in front, 3 to 4 second following distance, stopping back 1 vehicle length in traffic, shoulder checking, and as one smart driver pointed out last week, ABS, always be scanning. And that's why I advocate shoulder checking. It encourages you to move your head and scan while you're driving. More than 40% of crashes happen at intersections. Map intersections, track road users, and follow them. Where are they going? Are they going to cross your path of travel when you're moving through the intersection? Carrie is tuning in from Minnesota. Light snow here and not sticking to the ground. Yes, wet snow. It is spring, and that's what's happening. And I've got a video in the cameras about spring snow. We've had a couple of snows here in March, and how to drive in that, because as you know, spring temperature is near freezing, and that is when the snow and ice is the most slippery, is when the temperature is near 0. Think of an ice hockey rink after the Zamboni just goes over and floods the ice. It's because you have that layer of water on top of the snow and ice, and that lubricates it and makes it slick. Bridges and overpasses freeze first, and the time that you're probably going to get snow and ice, and it's going to get slippery here in the spring, bridges and overpasses freeze first. So if you're on the highway and there's a bridge, get your foot off the throttle, coast over the bridge, and then reapply the throttle on the other side to maintain control and not go into a skid on the slippery conditions that present themselves in the morning in the spring when it's freezing. Elevator, if you were staying at a hotel, make sure reservations ahead of time, especially in the summertime. Elevator fan, you're absolutely correct, my friend. We were coming back. Crazy to think it was 4 years ago when we were driving across Canada. We were coming back, and I had booked all the hotels coming back across Canada for the 5 days it was going to take us to drive back from Ontario. And it was a week in advance. I booked all the hotel rooms. We got into the hotel in Calgary, and there was another gentleman there behind us who came up, and he was asking if they had any rooms available where we had booked a room. And they said, no, we don't have any rooms available. And he said he had been in contact with at least a dozen hotels that there weren't any rooms available. The other piece about that in terms of hotels, look at the hotels that if you're traveling with children, look at hotels that have swimming pools, look at swimming pools that have hot tubs, and places that you can walk to when you get there with the kids at the end of the driving day, right? Because all of that makes fun, it's fun too. It's like when we went to Mount Baker skiing in January, I was willing to drive back into Binghamton so that we could have a hotel that had a swimming pool and a hot tub. I wasn't too crazy about the swimming pool, but I definitely wanted a hot tub after a day of skiing up at the hill. So I was willing to do that. Epic, for long trips, try to plan where the rest stops and service areas are that you can take a break or change drivers when needed. Also, if you're an American Automobile Association, it's affiliated with the CAA. Excellent. Thank you for that as well. So what Epic said there in terms of rest areas, places that you can go in. And, there's a lot of times that, if you do a bit of pre-planning with Google and before you leave, sometimes these small towns aren't too far off the interstate or highway or freeway, and you just go into the small towns, and there's parks there, and you can go into the parks, and oftentimes these parks will have picnic areas. And what we did when we drove across Canada 3 or 4 years ago, and I can't believe how much use I've got out of this cooler, we bought a 6-volt cooler, 6-volt, 9-volt, anyway, the one that plugs into the accessory in the car, and we just plug it into the car and away we go, right? We fill it up with food. And one of the things that I do, unfortunately, the slow cooker met its demise on the last trip. It was piled on top of the stuff in the back of the car, and I pulled something out, and the slow cooker fell out of the back, and the pot inside it broke. But chili, shepherd's pie, soups, other stuff. I can't think of anything off the top of my head right now, but you can take the slow cooker with you. And if you're out for the day, if you're coming back to the same hotel as we were when we were skiing, for example, You just put the food in the slow cooker and let it cook in the hotel. And when you come back, you got hot chili. I lost my train of thought there. Sorry about that. Retired, I put Rain-X on a couple of times a year. Okay, so excellent. Eric Seafoam product. Buds Be Gone, you can put on in washer fluid too. So Seafoam has a product as well that you can use for your windshield for those places that have high bug areas. And talking about high bug areas, when I drove across the States last summer and I met Eric and Carrie there, and Elevator Fan as well, the van that I was taking home for my mom was just covered in bugs. So this is another thing that in the summertime, if you're driving through these areas, you can get some Seafoam, you can get the summer windshield washer fluid that will get rid of the bugs on the windshield, because anybody who has driving experience driving in the summertime and you drive through a swarm of bugs, that gunk is pretty tough to get off the windshield. So you can get this stuff to keep your visibility clear and those types of things. And the other piece about it, keeping the glass clean in the summertime, reducing fatigue when you're driving at night, is keep the glass clean. So when you go into the fuel station, clean the glass, clean the inside. You might even want to get some glass cleaner and a roll of paper towel that you keep in the vehicle. You can squeegee the glass and then clean it with glass cleaner, and that will reduce fatigue as well, because in the summertime and you're on these long road trips, you get the sunshine coming through the window, the glass on the front, and the light refracts off that dirt and it plays with your eyes, and all that light and movement is going to cause fatigue and make you more tired. So if you can keep the glass clean, it not only improves visibility and your ability to see other traffic and determine traffic patterns and interpret the actions of individual road users, but it also reduces fatigue. So that's another tip for driving in the summertime. Marion, just be careful with the cooler. We had one, and on a trip we left the cooler plugged in and it drained the car battery. Yes, you have one of those cars, Marion. The Pontiac, the Montana will do the same thing. If I leave my dash cam plugged in, it will continue to run the dash cam the whole time, and then it will drain the battery, as you just said. The Honda won't do that. When I turn the key off, the cooler turns off. So it depends on the make and model of car that you have, but it's exactly what Marion said. Figure out which vehicle you have. If you have a cooler plugged in or an accessory or something else that's running all the time, is it going to drain the battery on the car? And you'll need to figure out on your own particular make and model. Elevator, make sure that you allow time for construction as we are entering construction season. Yes, as well. And long road trips, pre-planning before heading out on your trip. All this information is available on the internet as to where the construction zones are going to be. And it is a good idea to have a look for this information. A couple of years ago here, the Trans-Canada Highway was closed east of Golden here in British Columbia, and it was an hour and a half detour around where the road was closed. So it's a good idea to have a look at the information about where construction is, because you may find that you're going across someplace and there's construction and the road's closed for 6 hours. They've stopped traffic for literally 6 hours. Well, what are you going to do sitting in traffic for 6 hours? You got a couple of kids in the background. You're all going to go nuts sitting there. Whereas with a bit of pre-planning and looking up where the construction is for your summertime road trips, you could avoid those delays and long periods of time sitting and waiting for the roadway to be opened up again. So, and as well, you know, if you keep your navigation running, even if you know where you're going, say you've been to grandma's house 6 times, right? You know how to get to grandma's house. It's still a good idea to keep your navigation running while you're driving there, because the navigation will tell you 2 things. It will tell you if there's a crash along the roadway and if the roadway is closed. It will also tell you where speed traps are. The whole time that I was driving across the States in the summertime, most of the time I had the GPS, the phone running, and it would tell me if there was a police officer with a car pulled over on the side of the road, or there was even a police officer just present on the roadway. The map software would tell me that there was a police officer there on the roadway. Retired, driving through traffic on a major highway with lots of 18-wheelers is always a challenge. Yes, and that's the other piece about that. Driving on these big interstates that have a lot of truck traffic. The 401 in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, the busiest commercial highway in North America. California, definitely up and down the east coast of the United States. Interstate 94, I want to say. Retired. Interstate 95. Yes, north-south is odd numbers. Thank you for that, helping me out there. I don't know what I was doing, but the buggy, it was acting up there. The terminal kept coming loose, and it would just shut down. I don't know what it was. It was being weird, but it seems to have stopped doing it now. And I was at an intersection, and I don't know what I was doing. I shut it off. And all of a sudden it like wouldn't turn over. And I'm on a bit of a hill, and so I got out and I thought, I'm just going to push it. And of course the buggy's a 5-speed. It's a manual transmission. I thought I'll just pop the clutch and I'll get it going, right? And just as I climbed out and just about to push on it at the light, I'm watching the cross traffic because it's a red light and I was going to go around on the right. Shay, I'm going to be driving 100 miles a day for work next month, so I need to study up. Space in front, plan your brakes, okay? Elevator, whenever I drive long distances, I always use the highway freeway. Yes, most of us do. We stay on the interstate because it's just, easy to get there. It's efficient. We get to where we're going. But again, plan your brakes every couple of hours. Take a break, get out, walk around the vehicle, have a snack, have a drink of water, take the dog for a walk, those types of things. Plan your meals. And, you'll have a great trip. I mean, I had a great trip last year across the states. Unfortunately, I should have planned a couple of more days to spend some time in Minnesota and spend some time in the Midwest there. But I didn't. And that was poor on my part. Think that, if you want kind of a leisurely pace and say you're driving across the country, 400 miles a day is a lot of driving. Like 400 miles is a lot of driving. Unfortunately for me, I was planning on 500-600 miles a day, and that's a lot for one person driving. I always use cruise control when driving on the highway, the interstate. Yes, definitely keeps you safer for sure. The feed after a long day, yes, for sure. Okay, thank you. You are most welcome, Marion. All right, so driving on the highways, driving on the freeways, things to keep in mind. Always keep the 3 to 4 second following distance in front. Stop back in traffic 1 vehicle length. Shoulder checking, or as one of the smart drivers said this week, ABS, always be scanning. Calm awareness, checking your mirrors, knowing what's behind you. And this is one of the little tricks that you can do while you're driving along. Just say to yourself, hey, what color is the vehicle behind me without looking? If you can say what color the vehicle is behind you, that means that you have awareness of the traffic that is around you. And this is what you really should be doing. It's not like this vigilant observation. You're looking and you're scanning and you're freaking out, right? That's not what you want. You want calm awareness while you're driving, all right? MIT, mapping intersections, tracking road users. Know that twice as many fatal crashes happen on highways, all right? Know that most of the fatal crashes are going to happen at night. So this is when you're going to be in danger. This is why I say to you, if you're driving at night, get some rest if you're tired. Because if you're tired, you're going to drive off the road where you're going to have a single vehicle crash. Keep yourself safe. If you're traveling for the Easter weekend, have a great trip. Be safe. Following distance, 3 to 4 seconds. Stopping back in traffic, 1 vehicle length. Shoulder checking, and mapping intersections, tracking road users, and especially keep note of the ones that you think are going to cross your path of travel, because more than 40% of crashes happen at intersections. Be safe there. Thank you so much for participating. Thank you for all your great questions during the live stream. If you have any questions, leave a comment down in the comment section. Check out Pass Your Driver's Test First Time Course Package over at the Smart Drive Test website. It's on sale. Head over there, have a look at that. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. Bye now.